As many of you noticed, I don't post a whole lot on Facebook, but every once in a while, life brings you to a crossroad and you feel compelled to speak out. Not for personal recognition, but to offer insight to what others around you are experiencing, how these events in their life affects not only them, but maybe you as well. Began a journey that was quite unexpected in my life, and no, it was not the type you look forward to with luggage and happiness in store ahead of a sandy beach, but rather the one associated with both mind and body. It was so surreal, just as always been portrayed in the movies. What I'm speaking of is the day you go to see an oncologist. Tests had been run, and it was now time to visit and we see the results. As you walk into the room, you expect to hear that it's this or that, and we'll treat it with medication, and out you go. You're arrogant. Come on, doc, I've got things to do today. Let's get this over with. You push all doubt to the back of your mind that today is the day you're going to hear that you have cancer. You know it's a possibility, but it's always the other guy. He then begins to speak. It's confirmed. The blood work, the biopsies, the MRIs, and the CAT scans. There's no denying it. You're left stunned. You hear the words, but the echo in your ears drowns out what is said after that. The doctor continues to talk. The words mean nothing, as all you heard was the positive results. His mouth moves, but no words reach your ears. I speak of this not only for what the diagnosis meant to me, but how it affected those closest to me and the devastating effects manifested from such a disease. As I exited the hospital with pamphlets in hand, I was still in shock. I sat in my car for the longest time without ever starting it. I placed them in the passenger seat and just stared at them. How could this be happening to me? I'd always taken care of myself. I've lived a clean life physically and mentally. I then blamed maybe it was the spiritually that let this happen. I bargained in my head that this was nothing and I would come out the other side just as a surfer rides the pipeline. I mean, after all, I'm still strong and I had the love of a woman to lean on when those days would be too heavy by myself. I had no reason to believe this would change me. I had to compose myself and return the calls from those closest to me wanting answers that they were not prepared to receive. I felt I had to remain strong for them as their disbelief came in denial and tears. Even as I continued to speak and reaffirm the diagnosis, the hollowness returned to my own ears, and it was difficult to drown out the words that I had heard and now repeating. These calls were the hardest to make, as others don't know what to say. Sometimes it's not what you say, rather the silence of the moment or in the presence, just a look and a smile of compassion is what is needed. Words are so overrated as actions speak volumes in times like these. It's now been a full day since the C word has spread to those closest to me. It is a quiet disease, and I have discovered most people are uncomfortable speaking of it, while others feel compelled to tell you about their relatives that battled. Trust me, it's not a battle. If you died, does that mean you didn't fight hard enough? I don't think so. This is one of the most offensive statements you can make to a cancer patient. We nod and smile and listen, but inside we're churning with doubt and fear of the unknown. Unless it's you, those words that have good intentions are just that. This is a personal journey that no one can take for you. There are no two patients alike. We each have our own diagnosis and treatment plan. We can only hope for the best outcome, but know that there were some that will not have God's favor in this one. I still don't believe this would change me. I would face this head on like a polar bear plunge into the icy, cold lake. I found myself anxious to get started. I had the support to get me there. She was questioning everything. I smiled with great admiration as on the uncertainness in her manner about my health. I was comforted by her actions, her take charge as we were in this together. We went to the oncologist and radiologist appointments and listened intently to how this would begin to unfold. Again, I found myself hearing the words from the doctor, but the echo in returned. This is where your support comes into play as the patient. You not fully comprehend what is said. You just want it started so it can get out of you as soon as possible. I found myself agreeing to whatever they said. Again, the voice of reason is your support person in the room as your advocate. My mindset was, come on guys, let's do this. I cannot fix it by myself, but let's get going. You spend a lot of time nodding and at your head in agreement to things you know nothing about and are not fully prepared to make a rational decision at that time. In my case, the waiting for test results to come back were mind-numbing. There were test after test after test. Nothing could move forward until each one was completed and confirmed by MD Anderson Cancer. I cannot emphasize the anxiety I felt. I never realized it at the time, as the whirlwind of emotion was always to suppress the next. I quietly carried this with me, not speaking of it as I was almost ashamed that I had cancer. The anxiety and stress that manifested became its own cancer, so to speak. It spread and caused irreparable harm to those I loved. My actions became uncontrollable. It was recommended that I become medicated to handle these seemingly overpowering emotions. I had approached this that I was mentally tough enough to handle cancer. The physical I could withstand. The mental aspects come with their own ramifications and outcomes. The things beyond my control were the androgen deprivation therapy treatments that totally changed my chemical balance. It was a complete removal of all testosterone from my body, which comes with its own side effects that are numerous. My mind was no longer mine. Having worked from home for 3 months in solitude due to COVID-19, my mind became its own prison. Yes, I was extremely anxious. My world was turned upside down by this. Any acknowledgement or contact with the outside world was like an addiction, and I needed the comfort of knowing I was not alone. As a man, I really understand menopause now. It's not funny. The mood swings, the irritability, the depression, the momentary highs, the hot flashes, the self-worth battle, and not to be redundant, but the anxious feeling that is like an itch that doesn't ever get scratched. Yet I vowed to remain vigilant in my ability to control my mind, that this would not be my undoing. I would not sit around and say, "Why me?" Now that doesn't mean I never said those words. I just refused to lay in it. As my plan of treatment was finalized, it again became a waiting game. I had to endure injections and more testing before treatment can begin. This waiting increased my anxiousness and pushed those closest to me away. It was at this time I needed understanding from others to step up. I understand that cancer is hard to watch from afar when you care about someone. The helplessness and the thought of self-doubt of what you can provide. When in reality, the cancer patient just needs someone to talk to and listen to them. They live with this 24/7. It never goes away. As I realized this was a journey I would walk alone and I would finish alone. Some people are not able to handle cancer, but as a patient, you don't have a choice. I don't feel any better or stronger than any other patient, but I am proud of my mental toughness to see me through. As in life, it's not how you start the race, but how you finish. My treatment finally began. It would involve weeks of radiation every day. As you go in for several weeks and see the same smiling faces in the eyes of the skilled women assigned to care for me, I am content. I could picture the smiling faces even under their COVID mask. After a few weeks, I soon realized I was not alone. These women at MD Anderson Advent Health made me feel that my daily visit, I was their only cancer patient. They became a surrogate in my life, feeling the need for contact. They cared for me and about me. You would never guess it was their job or their obligation. I looked forward to the treatment appointments. It was the one place that knew what I was going through. Although they did not have cancer, they have witnessed and interacted with those that do, and better understand the one thing we lacked. I know that may seem strange, but my mind saw this as a safe place from the outside world. They knew the value in touch and communication. When you're lying on the table, we would talk about life and family and joke, and we were serious. We were never rushed. Yes, there were others that had appointments, but they understood the yearning for compassion, as we are individuals, not patients. They became part of my journey with me. Their compassion and kindness will be missed. Thank you, Abby, McKenna, Jen, Ruth, Liz, and Jody. You will never know how much you meant to me during our time together. Throughout the duration of the treatments, I still got up each morning and performed my responsibilities I had throughout the day. My days would start at 5 a.m., and I would go for as long as I could and as hard as I could. I tried to stay physically active, even more so post-COVID quarantine. The gym became my sanctuary, as this was the only thing I could control, as I had no idea what lay in store for me. While visiting each week with my oncologist, he could not believe I could maintain physically at this pace. I would not quit. He was certain that by doing so would give me an edge upon recovery, but at the same time told me to listen to my body and give in when the fatigue became too much. Every day after treatment, I would go to the gym, no matter how I felt. Tired, exhausted, worn out. It didn't matter. This was still my body, and I would continue to fight and push and stay strong. What I never took into account was how it would affect the ones I love, how I was now perceived differently. I did not find out until later, when it was too late. It was as unexpected as the diagnosis itself. A journey such as this is difficult, but even more so on those nights when you're home alone, those nights that test your mental fortitude as your body tries to expel the poisons they have given you during treatments. The nights of chills, hot flashes, aches and pains in your bones, and yes, hugging the porcelain god. You find yourself praying for daylight to come as your body knew it was a new day and maybe today would be better. Just as I've just completed my treatment plan, we can only hope it has been fruitful. I will return in further testing in a couple weeks and determine the progress and outcome. I will now go in monthly, and we will monitor my PSA levels in addition to blood work determining whether the cancer is affecting other parts of my body, such as my liver, my kidneys, or my bones. All the while, I will continue to be as positive and yes, maybe a little less anxious now, as I have tried to be throughout. This will not stop me, even if it will return or if it's not complete. I know I can do it and want to help other cancer patients understand what we go through. We're not looking for advice or online treatment remedy or how our lifestyle caused this. And lastly, a story of someone else that has gone through it. That is your witness to what they endured. We need someone to listen when the voices in our head are too much. Thank you for listening.